Now personally, my view, I don't think people should walk around naked in public places. Or spring break, right? You've got that too. Go down to the beach and get bleep-faced, and so on. A favorite pastime of many. I tried out the big dinner box from Pizza Hut, and then I tried out that godforsaken monstrosity. Ooh, that thing creeps me out so much. From Little Caesars. But when I tried their food for the first time in 2019, I remember I tried out this chicken tender sans sauce, and I thought, what the hell? This is just flavorless. It's just matter.
See, I want to maybe say something like, a new one is up, hope you could check it out. But then people might be like, yeah, what the fuck? I was almost going to drop an F-bomb right there. What the heck is the podcast exactly?
I was saying this as a joke, but I guarantee if they could have their way, the next step would be, look at how great it is that because they're already doing the kiosks and stuff, in the name of things being better. Everyone's favorite kiosks that are absolutely filthy that are covered in fecal matter. Let's go over to, obviously not the real Cardi B, but someone who obviously goes by that name, says, do you like frogs? Yeah, no, frogs don't bother me. Of course, there was the whole, all the symbolism and whatnot. But just if we're talking about frogs, just as frogs, yeah. I still want to be mindful of the balance between quantity and quality, but I feel like you've all been waiting here patiently. For the most part, there was one guy that wasn't so patient. Whereas my show, which is always it's always a real winner when I get those messages, but his show is here. How about we go over to Nick in Grand Rapids, Michigan? What do you have to say, Nick?
Hey, Review Bra, this is Nick calling in. I was just wondering what you think about when there's old white dudes in convertibles, but it's really windy out. And since they're in convertible, got top down to look cool, and they just get their hair blown all around if they have any left. What do you think about that?
Well, what about it? Nothing wrong with when you cough or sneeze being a little respectful, because who really likes someone, coughing in your face or sneezing down your neck, etc. I remember once I was in line somewhere, and this guy came up behind me and sneezed right down the back of my neck. And, it's a gross feeling. You have all this moist, warm, almost slimy feeling air that's splattered on your neck, and who likes that? I remember this one guy was sending me constant emails. At first, it was like for some petition for some SpongeBob thing. But, I may as well check it out, see what it's all about, But it just wasn't really like something that was a meme, so I didn't sign it. But then he emailed me like 20 times a day, to the point where it was spamming me, and it made me get more fed up than anything else with it. So, I'm not gonna do that. You try to hold out this hope that maybe, the people who, every time I publish a new program, that, bombard me with these emails telling me that this virus is just a load of BS, or that they don't care about it, or that I should just F off and shut the F up. Quit wasting time, right? Who cares? Stick to the burgers. It's no big deal. So what? Only kills the old people. Do you realize what kind of statement that is? Let's not go there. I could see where this one's going. Let's not do. This one comes in from Scott. What does this say? Thought you might find it funny. It's AI generated. But I made a white Snoop Dogg, and he kinda looks like you. I've gotten that comparison before. Oh god, that never fails to crack me up. Thank you, Scott. Thanks for sending that in. Oh god, the things that come in sometimes, I tell you. It's really something else. If I were personally to give any sort of hypotheses, I think it was either some sort of obviously unpredicted extreme weather event. Again, one theory, of course, would be the hurricane force wind. Still wouldn't necessarily explain why the one person was missing their eyeballs and their tongue. I've never really heard of, unless it was debris, but even then, that's kind of weird. I've never really heard of anyone having their tongue ripped out in any sort of hurricane force wind, though. Melinda from Indiana. I know you have done some White Castle reviews in the past, and was curious if you have gone to the new location they opened in Orlando. It's supposed to be the largest one in the world, and it looks quite swanky, with the outdoor mood lighting and seating. Well, as swanky as White Castle can get, maybe outside of their over-the-top Valentine celebrations. Said they canceled the celebrations for this year. Be well, Melinda in Indiana. Thank you for writing. I've never been there, and I will call that place right now what I feel it is. At least my opinion of it. The place is a hellhole. Sorry about that. I'll be honest, I lost my train of thought. I had my email open, and it's bizarre. It's actually about Taco Bell, but it was just weird. I'm not going to read it, because I don't really think it's appropriate, but some guy, I guess, felt it appropriate to, how do I say, give me the full assessment of a spicy item that I guess he consumed from Taco Bell in all the detail, as far as both the consumption and excretion process is concerned. We have a short question from John in Illinois. If anyone would happen to run into you in public, waiting in line at a store, for instance, do you have a preferred way that people approach you? Perhaps a handshake, a simple wave, and/or nod? Or do you prefer no interaction at all? Imagine that you've encountered this situation in the past, and I'm curious how you've handled it. Regards, John in Illinois. Thank you, John. Well, I mean, you could approach me any way you would like. You're free to do so. I guess if I had any preference, it would just be nice not to cause a scene. By that I mean, don't, if it's like let's say I'm in a bookstore or something and it's real quiet, and then at the top of your lungs you say, holy, then the S word, of course, review brah, right? I wouldn't. And that's about it. And sometimes I'm just curious to see what's trending. But usually the stuff on Twitter that's trending is just this weird stuff that just makes me uncomfortable. I don't know if degenerated is the word for it, but it makes me uncomfortable. That's all. Sunday trends, right? And it's like these weird, these weird things, like, there was one that was there on the top the other day. It was just awkward. It was like, weird things to say when you're having sex, or awkward places for sex. I'm like, what? Why am I seeing this? I don't have any interest in that. I don't know. Hey, who knows? Who knows? There's just a disconnect. People can talk about what they want. Alright, so these guys, mind you, are supposed to be fully grown adults, professional researchers back in the early 90s. They're navigating through this maze on some sort of experiment or, whatever it might be, exploration. They're going through this room. They hear a noise or a bang off in the distance. So the guy looks up and he says, "Hey, yo, bro, what's that?" I kid you not. And not that this guy is supposed... That's just how a lot of Generation Z folks talk these days. But I did a double take when I heard that, and I thought, oh, you gotta be kidding me. I shook my head. I thought, you gotta be kidding me. I thought, I just find that there are always going to be outliers, but... But I remember I was checking out this one channel. The guy didn't really have any views either. We were both just small channels. And he had subscribed to me, so I had checked him out, and I remember, his delivery was just rather unique, and it's clear that, there wasn't... This is just the way that he did the videos. It was just... the way he would say it, he really just mispronounced Monster Chaos. And this is the way that he would say it, mind you. He would say, "This is Monster Chaos. I'm trying out Monster Chaos now." In this sort of voice, just like that. It sounded exactly like that. The microphone is practically in his mouth with this heavy breathing. And he kept saying, I remember, "Monster Chaos." He would say it just like that. And it was just a little running joke. Next email comes in from WH, who writes, "Either you know who I am, or you don't. Point blank, I'm tired of crying over someone who ignores me constantly. First, the Buzzcut Seasons video. Yeah, I saw the over that looks a lot like Long Beach, Washington, and Puget Sound beach over there. Then all those things... What... I shouldn't even read this. This person thinks that I'm Lord."